Welcome to the Adapt Podcast, a podcast for executive leaders looking to be successful in the digital age. Get practical tips from successful leaders and listen as digital movers and shakers talk about how they transformed companies into the digital era. Here is your host, Luis Gonzalez.
Welcome to another episode of the Adapt Podcast. Today is the number 8, and with us, we have Leandro de Castro, the co-founder of Axon Data. Axon Data is a company to help customers analyzing big data and making fantastic stuff to analyze and to deliver beautiful insights to their big data stuff. So, Mr. Leandro, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have someone with your knowledge in our show. So today it will be about digital transformation, sorry guys, but very focused in data. So Leandro, welcome and thank you so much for being in our show. What I would love to ask Leandro is to give a small introduction about yourself. So I made a 10 seconds introduction, but I really would love to see if you could actually present yourself a little bit and give us a bit about your background, because it's such an extensive background that it's always a nice pleasure to have someone with your knowledge in our show. Thank you so much. Go for it, Leandro.
Okay. Well, Luis, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here talking to you in the Adapt podcast. Well, I'm an electrical engineer with a master's degree and a PhD in computer science, focusing on artificial intelligence. And that's what I've been doing for the past 25 years now. And I think that one important thing to say is that I'm a researcher in this area. So I've got a research lab that I lead at the Mackenzie University in Brazil. And also I'm an entrepreneur in artificial intelligence now for 15 years. I have already had 2 different products, and now I'm one of the leaders of Axon Data.
That's awesome, man. So much knowledge here. My God, today I'm very excited to have you here. So one thing that I always ask, it's a very simple question, but there is a lot to talk about it. I usually ask my guests, what is the definition of digital transformation for you? Because digital transformation is such a huge topic and so many people have so many different definitions that I always love to get the definition of our guests. And this is the first question for you. So, Leandro, what is digital transformation for you?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those slippery words that we have. In essence, if you look for a definition of digital transformation, you're going to see things like the fact that you're going to digitize all the products and services and the operation of your company. But this is just too broad. And I personally like to bind the definition of digital transformation with another definition that's very common nowadays, that is the definition of the Industry 4.0, which basically means bringing cloud computing, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, 3D printing, and all this stuff that are the more state-of-the-art in technology to your company. And the result of that is that you can automate processes and you can automate decision making, just reducing costs, reducing risks, and increasing results. So this is the view I like to have about digital transformation.
Really cool. Thank you so much. So digital transformation brings huge benefits, challenges for big traditional companies. So I would like to start asking you, from your point of view, what are the big advantage that digital transformation can bring to the traditional, more, let's say, old-fashioned companies than before? So what this age, this transformation, this digital transformation can bring to the most traditional companies? What advantage do you see on that?
Well, I believe that the most important benefit that digital transformation brings to companies as a whole is the fact that as the goal of digital transformation is to make processes more efficient and to to improve the quality of decision making as well. In the end of the day, what you get from that is that you can focus more on your customers and on the quality of your products and services. And for me, these are the main benefits of digital transformations to corporations as well. And another thing that we must say, which is very important, is the fact that when you perform digital transformation in your company, you can more easily and more cheaply go globally, because you can go outside your borders, the borders of your own country, and not only in terms of commercializing products and services, but also in terms of hiring people. Because now, many after the pandemics, companies just realize that you can have staff all over the world. And this is very interesting, because, and this is also interesting for the labor market, because it allows you to work in a multinational company without leaving your own country and your own home.
So interesting what you are saying, because so I want to grab two things from what you said. One thing is the global market from the point of view from service and products, the offering. Why this is a very nice, important topic for myself, because as you know, I'm Portuguese, and Portugal is not the biggest economy, right? We are 10 million people, so we are a very, very small country, not very strong economically. But with the digital transformation of companies, I'm really excited with this, because I really believe that now is an era where we can access a global market. So it's not so important anymore to be a very small country, because basically we can go international. Of course, the relationship with Brazil was always very close, but imagine going to Africa or to US or even the rest of the Europe, right? So when you start to have such a good solutions going in the cloud and really access to the global market, it's really a world of new opportunities. And I feel a little bit sad talking here with a lot of companies that they still don't realize that actually they have access now to a global market. The problem with that, of course, is the companies from the outside, they have access to Portugal as well. So the competition gets very, very tough. From the accessing the talent point of view, it's very interesting. So I saw today a news, we got another unicorn in Portugal, which I was really, really excited to see. So those guys, it's a company called Remote. I myself use the guys. So what do they do? It's very interesting. You imagine that you are a Brazilian company and you open an office in Lisbon, but you still don't want to open a legal entity in Lisbon. So what these guys do is they are specialized in hiring local people to work for Axon Data. And basically what they do, they give a normal employment contract with all the insurance, healthcare, taxation, social security. So basically they create a brand for you, a branch of Axon Data in Lisbon for you. And at the end of the day, they just send you an invoice to your headquarters. And with that approach, you can go international in several different countries without even having the need to open legal entities in the country. So you see how this crazy transformation is actually really opening completely new different business models for supporting this transformation, let's say. Leandro, you talked about the good stuff. Now I really would love to ask you a little bit about the bad stuff. So what do you think that will happen to companies that they will not undergo this digital transformation that everyone is talking about? So what will happen to their business? What will happen to their, let's say, business as a whole, business models? What do you think that will happen, and what is the big threat for them from your point of view?
Right. Well, it's very just one thing about what you said. I mean, I didn't know this company. You said it's called Remote, right?
Remote, yeah, exactly.
So the idea is that you can outsource. It's basically you can outsource the services and products of your company abroad. Is that the idea?
No, the idea is that if you want to enter a new market, okay, and you want to employ people in that new market, but you are just testing if it would be a good market. You don't want to open a legal entity, right? So you hire these guys, and these guys basically, they will hire the people for you. They will be their employees, okay? They will work for you, but they will be their employees. So they will provide all the HR service, okay? All the bonus, everything, okay? It's really like a normal company. And then they will just send you an invoice to the headquarters, to Brazil, for example, in this case. And that's fantastic, because in my case, I have a company in Germany. I'm still testing what's going on in Portugal, so I still don't want to open an entire fully legal entity in Portugal. So I talk with those guys to hire a couple of people in Portugal. And with that, I can have some people helping me building the business here, but they are not completely my employees. But at the end, they work for us. And when the company grows, then they will move, because that's another thing. So there is no problem whatsoever that these guys that are hired by remote, then they will move to your company. So if you open a legal entity, it will be super normal for them to move under your brand and not staying with remote. So they will just help you to push the things a little bit in the beginning for you to set up the activities, the HR part here. So it's really, really cool.
All right, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, getting back to digital transformation and the risks that companies face when they don't do it, I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the challenges that you face when you want to do digital transformation. And one big problem is, and one big challenge, I mean, is that it sometimes requires great changes in your company, in the sense that if you talk about digital transformation, you're basically talking about, as I said, AI, IoT, all this stuff, all this more tech stuff. And with that, you have to change a little bit the mindset of your team, because things that were usually performed by people, sometimes some repetitive activities, they are automated, and these people have to be trained and moved to other areas. Otherwise, they will become redundant. So you have a challenge with people, with human resources. And also, one thing that may occur is that now you're going to have all this software doing things for you, doing the work and taking decisions. And you have to learn to deal with all this software and to integrate them in your operation and to make these things work, right? And the question is that in the end of the day, everything boils down to people, right? You have to have people that are capable of dealing with it, of implementing this stuff and running this stuff. And we all know that nowadays we have a shortage of engineers and computer scientists all over the world.
Yep.
So we have to deal with that, right? And what may happen if you just want to be outside of it and keep your business more traditional is that you're going to face, as we discussed, you're going to face global competition. And we also nowadays have all these tech companies, the startups. So we have legal techs, fintechs, edtechs, agritechs, and these companies are usually very fast, though they are small in many cases, but they can be accelerated by funds, by external resources. And then you have to compete in this world, and it's very difficult if you do not scale. And we usually attribute scaling only to products, but scaling is also to your operation. So your operation has to be scalable, right? And digital transformation promotes scalability of operation as well, right? So I see no other way nowadays but doing digital transformation.
Well, and in all different areas, we are seeing the companies that are not transforming, they are staying behind, right? So retail, you have Amazon, that's an example worldwide. You have fintechs, digital banks coming all over the world and eating the traditional banks alive. Healthcare, as you said, agriculture. It's a very interesting thing, right? That you were even thinking how the heck you apply digital transformation in agriculture. And I saw a couple of videos a couple of weeks ago with drones. The drones look at the soil, and then they do image processing, and they know exactly when the fruits start to get ready to be taken. Man, it's incredible. The technology applied to this kind of fields is unbelievable. So yeah, I share the same idea. If they don't adapt, they will collapse. And I think the biggest problem is that most of the times we're coming back to always to the same, which is it's not just about technology, it's about the business model as well, that they really need to think. As you said, the operations need to change, business model needs to change, and it's huge disruption. But now I wanted to focus on your topic, the data topic, because it's something that I'm really in love, but I'm honest, I don't know as much as I would like. So I would like to focus a little bit on data. So I would like to ask the question, how do you see data in the next 10 years? What will be the job of data in the digital transformation? What data, or how can data serve companies from now on, even already serving companies already now? But how do you see the future of data? We can explore a little bit this topic, because I think it's a very, very interesting topic to talk a little bit. So we can start. How do you see data or the future of data in the next couple of years or decade or whatever?
Sure, yeah. Well, I like to approach this topic data in three different dimensions. The first one is related to privacy and regulation, because we now have a different concept of privacy, and I'd like to explore a little bit on that. The second perspective is data from the standpoint of value, the value of data, and the third one is about analytics, right? How do you extract knowledge from data? So from the first perspective, which is more regulatory and a more, I'd say, an ethical perspective, what we know nowadays is that everything we do, everything we see, we hear, everything is being monitored. It doesn't matter if you know it or not. You know, I'm here talking to you, and my mobile phone here is on my left with the screen down, but it's connected to the internet. But it didn't need to be connected to the internet. The fact is that everything I'm talking to you here now is being listened. Yeah. And I would not be surprised if half an hour from now I received, I don't know.
Well, ads, for example, it happened to me. I was talking in the past with my wife about this kind of stuff. We were talking, and we never did any kind of search in our laptops, because it was a completely new topic. Hey, by the way, do you wonder too? And then half an hour later, we had ads in our laptops. And of course, we were working with technology, so we knew exactly what was happening. We had Google Home, we had Siri, we had all these nice things. So we knew already what was going on. So it's better to not even think about it. But I fully agree with you. Everyone is listening to us. So.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a new concept of privacy, and that's one of the reasons why we have all these regulatory issues. You know, like GDPR in Europe, LGPD in Brazil, and everything is worried about it. But at the end of the day, no one knows what really happens with our data. You know, so that's something very important. And from an analytical perspective, in this case, if you think about what you can do with this data, that's unimaginable, because most of the applications are focused on selling something, on business selling something, right? So they want to know what you want to eat, what you want to do, which clothes you like to wear, the car you like to drive, so on and so forth, right? And but you can also use it as I said before, in a more operational way, to improve your business, right? And we specifically in Axon Data, we have customers in different segments. So we have customers in the financial market, in retail. We have industries, food industries. We have in the beauty industry. So we have customers in different areas, because our main product is a data analytics platform whose goal is exactly to extract knowledge, insights, and to design solutions for decision making for companies, right? So what you can do with data is really huge, right? And this is the third perspective I talked about.
Could you share a couple of examples of what or how data could be used to improve operations in any industry that you know about? So you have so many examples from your customers, I'm pretty sure, without entering in any privacy issues, but just some small ideas. How could companies utilize the data to improve their operations?
Right, sure. I mean, I can take two examples in different industries. One is, for instance, you have a set of collaborators in your company, and these collaborators have to do some field work. And one of the things that they need to do before going to the field is to define which places they are going to visit. This is a typical problem, typical optimization problem, a sort of logistics problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to define the best sequence to go and visit all those places. That could be customers. And what else? You can define, for instance, we have customers on the other customers on the logistic market, where they have to deliver things, deliver things. And nowadays everybody's purchasing things from the web, right? And one part of this chain is exactly to take your package and leave it somewhere. And one thing that we do in that specific case is we forecast the probability of finding that person at home. And why? Because if you have to go there to deliver a package and the person is not at home, this is a huge cost for you.
Yes.
And then you have to return another day, and this is a big problem. So we take data from several different ends, from the characteristics of the customer to gel data, and we use all this data to
That's very cool.
do this type of.
That's very cool. I saw once a retailer that they were using data, weather data, to predict the warehousing. So imagine if it's very hot, they predict that people will buy a lot of beer. If it's cold, they don't need to buy so much beer, so most probably they don't need to have such a big stock, right? So it was very, very, very interesting, and people don't even dream about it. But what we can do with that, it's very, very, very interesting. Cool. Thank you. Go for it. Continue. So on the other domains that you were talking. So
yeah. Okay. Well, and the second domain is basically the fact that data is the new fuel of the economy, because if you have data, as we already discussed, you can improve your operation, you can reduce risks, and you can do all the analytics with it. So this is the second fact, the fact that many companies are basically storing data about people, all types of data, and they sell the data itself, right? And so these are the three pillars I wanted to talk about. The more ethical one, data as the fuel for the economy, and the analytics, what you can do with this data.
So I want to pick up your brain, since we have you here on the show, and most of the people that listen to this show are usually leaders of organizations. I would like to ask for an advice. So imagine that I'm a leader of an organization, that I don't have any data, I don't have any data strategy. Still, we are thinking about implementing a data strategy to help us. Where should they start? So do you have any idea, or new idea you have, but do you have any advice for leaders that are now with this topic on their agenda, how should they start? How they should address? Any tips for them to start with this topic? It would be very interesting and really appreciate it from us to listen this kind of ideas from you.
Right. Well, that's a good point indeed. I see basically three ways that companies are doing in order to enter this world of data. And the traditional way is to start your own team, right? So, well, okay, now I'm going to have a data analytics or a data science team in my company. And this involves hiring some people, which are quite rare in the market and expensive. You know, they have, as they are difficult to find and difficult to be prepared, to be trained, so they become expensive in the market, right? And one difficulty with this approach is the fact that in most of the cases, these teams, they are as they are different, you know, because data science is basically one area in which you're more focused, at least in part of the process, in validating hypotheses. What I mean is, okay, I want to introduce artificial intelligence in my company in order to predict which customers are at home for the delivery problem, right? As we illustrated before. And the question is, I am not sure in advance if this is going to work, right? So I will have to invest in this in this potential solution to see if it's going to work or not, right? So this is completely different from most of the things we do in our companies, because most of the things we do in our companies, we are reasonably sure of the result we are going to have, right? So I hire someone for the administration or for accountability, so we know what that person is going to do and the outcome of her or his work, right?
The outcome is pretty well defined. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly. And the solution is pretty well defined as well. When you do data science, no, it's not. So this is a different team. This is multidisciplinary in nature because you have to have knowledge from mathematics, from statistics, from computer science, from business, and you still have to have good soft skills because you have to communicate with different teams and so on and so forth, right?
Which is a challenge, right? Because usually these kind of people, so I can talk because I was a software engineer myself, so I know having this skill set, usually people very, very, very intelligent, right? Mathematicians, statisticians, computer science, a lot of them know they are not the most social persons, right? So if we need that skill set on top of all their core knowledge, still the soft part of it and being good communicators and good team players, it's a really, really tough scenario to have in nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. So this is one form many people are doing it to have this type of solutions at home. You know, it's difficult, and another way is just to outsource your AI or your data science part, right? But outsourcing is always a problem as well, because in the end of the day, you want to have the knowledge, you want to have the control and the propriety of the knowledge that's going to be generated. And when you outsource it, you do not necessarily have it in every project that you have to make. So you have a new budget to allocate and all the problems that may occur with outsourcing, right? So this is the second avenue that you can follow. And the third avenue that you can follow is to look for a partner that can more easily help you have this data science area within your company without spending too much, and sharing responsibility with you, and providing a good technology so that you can make things faster and with less resources. And this is basically what we do provide in our company, Naxon Data, because we have these three pillars in our company. So first, we have a technology. So we have a data science platform, which we designed and we maintain. Second, we provide knowledge because we have a training center that is exclusive for our technology. Wow. So if you want to have AI in your company, you can have it, and we can teach you how to use it, and we can teach you the basics of data science so that you can take the most of the technology. And we can also help you to design and implement the projects, right? So this is after being in this market as an entrepreneur for 15 years, we designed this type of offer because we realized that in the market, we usually don't have them. You either find technology, and there are several other platforms like ours, or you find a consultancy that can sell you a specific project. But we didn't find any other company that could take all these things together and bring it and offer this type of solution for the market.
Okay, so now there is Axon Data. So if someone that is listening to the podcast, if they need some help with data, then definitely you should. I will leave Leandro's contact at the end on the show notes. Go for it. I'm pretty sure Leandro and his team will help you. Leandro, now I wanted to come to the end, and I will always ask these two questions. So this is more like experience from you and advice from you. The first one is, what was the biggest lesson that you had in your entire career? First one. And the second question is, for people that are starting their career in the leadership positions, or they aspire to go to leadership positions, what do you think that is they should have, or they should take into consideration? So what is your advice for them to succeed in this journey? Okay, go for it. Thank you.
Right. Tough questions. Well, talking a little bit about lessons or lesson, I prefer talking about principles. Right.
Okay.
There are three principles that I'd like to share here with our audience. The first one is that business are made of in for people, no matter how digital they are, right? Because in the end of the day, it's all about people, right? The people that work with you, the people that you serve. So this is the first principle that I have. The second one is to focus on the solution, not on the problem. It may be cliche, but that's very important. And we constantly see people that are more focused on the problem than on the solution. And the third one that has everything to do with what we talked about here in your book, Adapt, is that things change, and things change quickly. So we have to be fast adapters, and we have to be preferably trendsetters instead of trend followers. Right? And that's something that we always try to do in our company. Right? Instead of following what's going on, we try to define what's going to happen. Right? So we try to be ahead of the market. Well, in terms of advice, I'd say that creating rapport, and rapport is a word that basically means to create a connection with the other part, be it a company or a person. And some people say it's like empathy, but it's deeper than empathy, right? So it's a French word. It's a French word, and what I'm saying here is that you have to provide means for your staff evolution in what we call co-petition, which is a mix between cooperation and competition, because your team has to cooperate within itself, but it also has to compete somehow so that people try to be always better and to do always better their jobs, right? So,
well, I like that example. Actually, I read an article a couple of weeks ago. An example of that is it was, because it's shifting, but Apple and Samsung, right? So Apple is a big competitor of Samsung, but at the end, the microprocessors were done, if I'm not mistaken, by Samsung. Now it's changing, but that's a pretty good example of them. For one hand, they are competitors. On the other hand, they are cooperating in a very closed way, right? So, and that's a tough tough relationship to manage. So it's difficult for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
So basically, this is it.
Man, I really like the rapport, because especially in today's world, I feel new kids are losing it, right? So I don't have kids, but I have nephews, and for me it's very strange. Kids come home, they are 15 nowadays, 15, 14. They come home for Sundays, families lunch. They come with the mobile phone on the hand. They sit on the sofa with the mobile phone. They stop to eat. They leave with the mobile phone and connection zero, right? And this is family. So I really, really very curious to know where our society is going, because I truly believe rapport is very important. I think we as humans are losing it a bit. That's my feeling. And even worse, we are losing in a time where is needed the most, because robots are coming, machines are coming, and I think what will kind of distinguish ourselves from robots is exactly rapport, empathy, social intelligence, etc. So it's a very, very interesting advice from your side, and it's a very, very good uh, area to have for food for thought, let's say, because I really think that it will be a challenge. In my opinion, it will be a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have small kids. I have a girl with 10 and a boy with 14, and I see it at home all the time. But in the direction that you're saying, Japan released a concept around 4 years ago in 2017 called Society 5.0. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
And it basically says that how is society going to be when all this industry 4.0 is set and running? Because the industry 4.0 that we have nowadays is a changing industry, right? It's not ready yet. You know,
Yes.
AI, IoT, 3D printing, all these things, you know,
It's just the beginning.
Yeah, they're just at the beginning. But what will happen a few years from now when we have autonomous vehicles, when we have many things automated at home and at work? So in principle, we are going to have more time for ourselves. So the question is, how do we use technology for the betterment of society, and how are we going to behave in this type of society? And one of the things that I am realizing is that the human relationship, though people, maybe now because of the pandemics, people became more physically distant from each other, but we cannot be less empathetic with each other. We cannot leave rapport aside, because that's very important. It's much more difficult to solve conflicts when you don't have the physical interaction.
Yes.
Because it's very easy to write I don't know, a brute reply, a brute email reply, or WhatsApp message that's not really soft enough. And so we have to deal with all that. And we
it's
have,
very easy to have a discussion with your girlfriend, wife, if it's over WhatsApp, because you don't see the face, you don't see the emotions, you don't hear the voice most of the time if you don't use voice. So it's very, very easy to start a fight and be misunderstood if you don't have the physical contact.
yeah. And one point I'd like to say to conclude is the following, because we've been struggling with that in our company, which is the fact that when we have more people working remotely, and this is digital transformation at its best, one difficulty that you have from a business perspective is, how do you build and nurture the culture of your company?
Yes.
Because when you have a physical environment, you know, your environment helps you to build this culture, because you decide colors, you decide the coffee machine, and everything that is in the physical world. But in the remote world, you have to do all that being remotely, right? So that's why I mentioned that, you know, create rapport. understand your people, understand the people that you serve, because I see this is a very important path indeed for success as human beings and as business as well.
Yep. Leandro, we come to the end. Thank you so much. It was really, really great pleasure to have you here. As I said, guys that are listening, if you need any help with data, Leandro is the guy. So go for it. I will leave the contact LinkedIn link on the show notes. It was a pleasure, Leandro. Thank you so much. It was really nice to have you here, and I wish you all the best for your career and for Axon Data, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you.
See you, man. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
See you.
Thanks for listening to the Adapt podcast. Head on over to www.adaptmethodology.com/scorecard to benchmark your ability as a leader to adapt your entire organization to the digital era. You will be able to identify plenty of opportunities for leveraged growth.